Hey there, it is Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
Hey, we're pumped about talking to Cynthia Ruchti and also Becky Melby. They've got a great book out. It's called Spouse in the House, Rearranging Our Attitudes to Make Room for Each Other. Ladies, how are you?
Great. Glad to be here.
Good. Happy to be here and have a chance to talk about this.
Man, what you guys are writing about is so very timely because Rick and I both are at home. Rick's wife is at home. My wife works out of the house, but for a long time we were at home together. So this is very timely, and I'm looking forward to hearing this.
Yeah, and not only because we've been working from home for the last couple of years, but I'm 62. One of these days I'm going to retire, and then we'll both be in the same house, and then I may have to get a part-time job, go back out. I don't know. I'll probably drive her crazy. So I looked at this and I thought, this is genius, really, because in all honesty, life happens, right? And we love, and business too. If you're in business with your spouse, your partner, you can get to where there's a little too much. So you're going to clear up some stuff. Help us here. What I want to know, first of all, is, did you guys experience this firsthand? Is that you're writing from experience? What?
Becky?
Absolutely. Actually started with phone conversations between the two of us on how do we cope with the spouses in our houses. And after, talking for a while and encouraging each other and bringing each other back to, scriptural principles that could help change our attitudes. Then we started to talk to other people and realize we are not alone in this.
Hey, and I know over the years, I have heard stories of it's usually guys that retire, their wives are already at home. When they get there, they're retired. They want to putter around, and it's driving their wives crazy. They end up going back out and greeting at Walmart or whatever, so that there's peace in the house. So I think this is a really timely thing. Cynthia, what about you?
Yeah, it was the same with me. Not only those conversations with Becky, but my husband was forced into early retirement at 50. So we got driven into this, two spouses in the house at the same time, quite early. He did go back to work. He had two part-time jobs then for quite a long time that almost made a full-time job, and then went down to part-time again. And then so seasonally, we have gone into in and out of home all the time, home most of the time. And obviously there will be a day I have worked from home or had ministry from home for all of my career, except for 7 years. So those first 7 years. So I have been in the home, but I've been working at the same time. So having a husband come home at 50 and hunting and fishing and golfing were lovely for the first 3 years until he realized that it was really hard to pay bills that way too. So we have, both of us, been in and out of caregiving situations where we're together all the time, or housing situations that were real tight, cramped quarters. And out of that, we realized we can't be the only ones. And what do you know? We aren't the only ones.
Right.
And within the last couple of years, have been more and more people who are experiencing that same thing and finding that the walls seem to be closing in sometimes with the person you love.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you kind of had the double whammy, the double, what's the word I'm looking for? Just the trials and tribulations of not only being at home together, but then also the stress of, are we going to have enough to pay the bills because he's only got one part-time job right now and things like that. So how did you guys learn to work through that and not just go, ah?
Becky probably has an additional answer to this, but from my perspective, we have lived almost our entire lives making do. And interestingly, that also translates into this.
Yeah.
We can either mourn about the seasons or the times when we're in the house, all of us, two of us or all of us together a lot, or we can figure out ways to make do, to rearrange the furniture of our attitudes, as well as sometimes it's literal furniture that we have to rearrange. Becky?
The first experience that we had with this 24/7 togetherness was many years ago. I was pregnant with our third child, and my husband was laid off from his job. And I learned a lot through that I could apply now, during retirement. And one of those is to not make it all about me. I was guilty of that in my 20s, still guilty of that in my 60s, but understanding that this home is ours, it's not all mine, and just like Cynthia said, making room in our minds, not just in our houses. And then conversations. How are we going to, divide up the money? How are we going to spend our time? What are your dreams? What are your hopes? Talk, talk, talk. If you know ahead of time that you're going into this situation, that's wonderful. But like we've seen in the last couple of years, sometimes you're thrown into this, and then you have to, in the midst of chaos, sit down and talk about priorities.
We're talking about the book, Spouse in the House, Rearranging Our Attitudes to Make Room for Each Other. And I know there are parts you're talking about practical things. You're talking about spiritual things. Would one of the practical things, and this is not meant to be funny, really. I mean, it may come off as funny, but geographically in the house, kind of separated. I know, as Dan mentioned, Donna works in the same, I'm in the studio here in the house. She works for a tech company. She's way over there in the other side of the house. And we both do our work and we meet, usually for lunch. Hey, how's it going? And then we go on about our business. But I think some of it is that we have our own space. Would you say so?
Absolutely. One of the things that we found out, we also do a lot of camping. So we have a 260 square foot camper, and we've spent weeks at a time in there. One of the things we found out is these earplugs and earplugs. So you can create mental space even when you don't have the physical space.
Yeah.
So I recommend those little yellow chunky earplugs. They can save a marriage, literally. Because not everyone has the luxury of physical space. We in our house can go in separate rooms and close the door if we need to. But, if you've got kids at home, if you're living in a small apartment, you don't have that luxury. So then you have to find other ways. And I think just being able to create silence for yourself is one of those great ways to solve that problem.
Cynthia, what about you guys?
Now, Becky brought up a really great point in that, too, that I want to speak to, which is that understanding what each other needs. I need quiet. I didn't always, when the kids were little, there was no quiet anywhere. But now the older I get, the more I really crave quiet, and just having that other person in the house, even just knowing he's here or the ice machine is running or whatever's happening, can be a distraction. And yet I don't want it to feel like an interruption. So I have these great noise canceling headphones, and my husband and I have adopted the practice that when he's coming near me, he'll stomp on the floor so I can know he's nearing me. Otherwise it's there you are. But so that was part of it. And I'm actually sitting in a room that we created for that very purpose. We had a porch that we converted into a pretty much 4-season room. It gets a little chilly out here in the dead of winter, but it affords me a place that if I'm not particularly interested in the string of basketball games he's watching on television or whatever the case may be, I have a place I can call my own. Not that I want to be distanced from him, but that I want the closeness that we share to not be interfered with.
Yeah, that's good.
Feeling like we're tripping over each other.
Yeah. That's really good. The book is called Spouse in the House, Rearranging Our Attitudes to Make Room for Each Other. We've got just about a minute or two. What have you heard so far from folks that have read the book?
We've heard people say, I should have had this a long time ago. Because not only, have we tried to put in good advice for people who are home together, but just good, practical, common sense marriage advice. So even if you're not always, in the house together, we hope that we've given some good encouragement. and that other people can learn from the things that we did wrong for a while.
And it's with a touch of humor too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like a textbook. This is everyday life.
Love that.
Do you have any advice for folks who are having renovations done in their house and there's noise going on when you're trying to work and it's driving you crazy?
I'll direct message you later because we had 3 years of that in a row.
Oh, 3 years. Yikes. Oh, let's not go there.
Lots of noise and dust.
I thought 6 to 8 weeks was going to be long enough. 3 years. Wow. Man.
Cynthia Ruchti and Becky Melby, they have a book out. It's called Spouse in the House, Rearranging Our Attitudes to Make Room for Each Other. Great book. Pick it up. Dan has the websites there right in front of us. So if you'd like to check those out. Real quick, what's next for you guys?
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
We have some thoughts.
Okay.
And it's related to this book as well. Just about understanding one another and really knowing each other, and how that also translates into a comparison with so many parallels with knowing God as well.
Sounds
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, let's we'll hook up with you again in a few months to see what's going on. Check out the book. We got to take a break. We'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.